Okay, it's HN, and I'm back in front of Cape Cod Hospital, and we have an update. We have some information, the latest information from Cape Cod Healthcare. What we have is, I'm going to share with you some audio from a conference call with Dr. David Pombo, and he's the Director of Infection Prevention at Cape Cod Healthcare. And regarding patients being down here yet, there's still a lot of uncertainty about whether we have patients here or not that are presenting with the virus, and I think that has to do with testing. But you'll hear what he has to say about it. But he did say locally, however, we have no reported positive cases on Cape Cod, as far as I'm aware. Take a listen to more of what Dr. Pombo had to say.
Locally, however, we have no reported positive cases on Cape Cod, as far as I'm aware. And currently, we're still encouraging the basic isolation precautions, hand washing, social distancing messaging that has come out of the Vice President's Coronavirus Task Force over the last 72 hours.
And regarding the topic of testing for the virus, Dr. Pombo had a lot to say about it in the earlier conference call. Take a listen.
Testing is being ramped up slowly across the country, still not widely available in our facility or in our area. So we're still recommending that people practice kind of just the routine respiratory etiquette, hand washing, surface cleaning, etc. And we're also encouraging that people who are not severely ill not present to their physicians for testing for COVID-19, since it's not really widely available at this point, and that really, for most respiratory illnesses, unless people are severely ill, we recommend they just stay home and not present to their doctor's offices unless they're having difficulty with breathing, fever, or severe coughing where it's interfering with their functioning.
And as the conference call continued, Dr. Pombo did give some advice on particular symptoms to be concerned about. Take a listen to that.
Well, the symptoms that are concerning would be fever, cough, difficulty breathing. If those are present, then people may need medical evaluation. But if people are just having a slight cough, not high fever, and no dyspnea or difficulty breathing, then they should probably stay home from work and kind of do social isolation and frequent hand washing. Stay no more than 3 to 6 feet within the personal space of another person, and so forth. We're still recommending that people be evaluated only if they're having shortness of breath, high fever, or a severe cough that is interfering with their breathing.
Now, a lot of Hyannis news readers have pets, and we love our dogs and cats. And so here's what he had a question about whether the virus can be transmitted to dogs and cats, and here's what he had to say about the transmission of the virus to dogs.
There have been reports of transmission of coronavirus to pets, and I did read one report where there was what was described as a low-level infection. I think that means the dog was not very sick, in a dog of somebody who has the coronavirus. I think if you are sick with a respiratory illness, you should treat the dog like any other member of the family. Don't cough in their face. Don't have the dog lick your face. Wash your hands after you contact the dog, et cetera, et cetera.
And also, Dr. Pombo also spoke briefly about the various treatments available to patients, and they're constantly looking at other treatments that will possibly work, but this is what he said about it.
So there are some drug therapy trials being performed nationwide, but they're randomized just to see if there's any evidence of efficacy. There are some compassionate use protocols using drugs for Ebola virus, but those are not known to be effective.
And during the conference call, Dr. Pombo touched upon some of the current challenges and protocols that we now have regarding testing, and how they hopefully will be improving over the weeks to come.
Yeah, as of the current time, our testing is still being adjudicated by the state lab, and we're following the more revised criteria for testing, which includes people who've had contact with a coronavirus case, or somebody who's had contact with a patient from a high-risk area and has symptoms of fever, cough, and shortness of breath. And currently, the testing is being rolled out through the commercial labs, LabCorp and Quest, but it's still a very unusual situation where we can get testing done in a rapid turnaround time. It's going to be at least a 3 to 4 day turnaround time. And Cape Cod Hospital is working on getting that operational. But at this point, we're still recommending that people use the CDC criteria. We're currently running the cases that present to Cape Cod Hospital by the state health lab, and they're kind of recommending whether we can or can't test people. Now, the Vice President made some announcements earlier this week that testing is available through any physician's ordering, and that will be probably within the next week to 10 days that will be kind of functional. But currently, we recommend the people who only fit those criteria to be tested.
And finally, Dr. Pombo touched upon, he talked about what the hospital is doing in preparation just in case there's a large amount of patients that end up showing up down here. This is what they're doing.
So our planning for a large number of patients involves establishing zones in the hospital where patients could be kind of cohorted, establishing areas of the hospital where we could have negative air pressure and make a whole unit like an airborne isolation area. We're establishing whether we can have off-site beds that might be available for people who need oxygen therapy but wouldn't be necessarily otherwise hospitalized. We're establishing whether we can convert rooms that are single rooms into rooms where patients with similar respiratory diseases could be cohorted. There's a whole supply chain effort to make sure all of our personal protective equipment is available, and those people are working around the clock.
I'd like to thank Cape Cod Healthcare for getting this information out to us today, and as soon as I learn more, as soon as I get more from Cape Cod Healthcare, I'll be happy to get it to you guys as soon as possible, because I know this is concerning a lot of people. There's a lot of people worried out there, and facts might help with those worries. Reporting from in front of Cape Cod Hospital, it's Highness News.